Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Welcome to the Brilliance Business Show, conversations with leading experts in business. I am your host, Mark Stephen Pooler. We have a wonderful guest today, Simone Milasas. Simone is a business visionary, author, global speaker, and creator of Joyful Business. Who doesn't want a joyful business? Simone, welcome to the Brilliance Business Show.
Mark, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Just share a little bit about yourself, Simone, and what you do.
Well, I'm an access consciousness facilitator, so I travel all over the world at the moment. As I told you before we went live, I'm in Prague, Czech Republic. I've actually got 3 months in Europe, and I'm doing seminars all over Europe, all over the place. As you referred to with business, one of the first books I ever wrote is called Joy of Business. So for me, business is always a joy, always has been. I was always very perplexed when people didn't choose business for the joy of it, and really realized how different I was. So I guess it's so much about empowering others to follow what they know and like what they are aware of. So using access consciousness tools.
I'm all about consciousness, Simone. Let's dig deeper into our questions.
Please.
Money is a hot topic right now. There's an uncertainty and fear and a lot of pressure on people financially. You managed to get yourself out of debt and even wrote a book about it, Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. What was the turning point for you, and what mind shift or tools helped you change your financial reality? And I'm sure this can be used not just for financial, but these tools could be implemented in other areas as well.
Yeah, and Mark, I came across access consciousness about 25 years ago, and I had a business at the time that was called Good Vibes for You, and I was, very interested in changing the world, changing the way people were with each other. Perhaps they could be more vulnerable with each other, not sort of go to the trauma and drama that I see so many people choose in the world. And so when I came across access consciousness, I was like, oh my goodness, this is everything that I have been asking for and trying to create with my business. And I started using the tools and they worked. And so many of the tools are about, being in question, not going to conclusion. And then you've got some processes, et cetera, as well that we would choose. And Mark, to be honest, I kept avoiding using these tools when it came to money. And I knew that I was creating myself to be a bit of a financial mess. I didn't know exactly how much. I was just creating myself to be more and more in debt. And you never would have been able to tell by looking at me. I was definitely one to be like, yeah, let's go here, let's do that. Yeah, I can buy this and, et cetera. And, quietly on the side, I was like, okay, I know I'm racking up a lot of bills here. I was very good at getting loans from different, companies or banks, et cetera, et cetera. And when I finally was in a seminar with Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, and he was talking about these money tools, and I went, wow, Simone, you need to change this. And I was saying to someone the other day, it sounds funny, but this was one of the hardest things I ever chose, was to change my financial reality. And I realized, and I wrote about this in my book, Getting Out of Debt Joyfully, I realized there was so much of being in debt and having no money and, having to hustle every week to get my rent, like things like that. I knew it. I was so familiar with that energy. And when I started using these tools to change my financial reality, I actually didn't really like them very much, but I knew, Mark, that I had to do something different. It's like Einstein says, doing the same thing and expecting a different result is the sign of insanity. And I was expecting a different result. So it was time to change and really pivot everything that I was choosing. So when I started using these tools, it did start to change my financial reality. And there was a moment, fast forward 2 years, and it was 187,000 Australian dollars in debt, which now is nothing compared to the pound. And when I realized I was out of debt, I was like, this is it. This is a little bit boring. This doesn't seem to be that interesting. And I found myself back in debt within 2 weeks. And I was smart enough to ask myself the question, what do I love about creating debt? Like, what do I love about creating this financial reality that has to do with struggle? And again, I realized it was familiar. I knew that energy. So I made the demand of myself, okay, let's find out what it's like to actually have money. What is that energy? And ever since then, I made the demand that I would find out what it was like to have money. And anyone who knows that actually, has made money and has been quote unquote successful as per this reality will know there's other things that pop up as well, as you have investments, etc. And how are you going to handle all of it? So I think it's not about the amount of money that you have in your bank account. Like, that's not how you calibrate your success. It's how do you move forward? Like, does it bring you joy? Does it make you happy? Do you have an ease with money? Is there a sense of peace with money?
I love that. And I think asking questions is definitely a great thing. And also, another great point there is saying I used to struggle a lot with thoughts, and you can also question your thoughts as well, because thoughts lie to you. So questioning your thoughts is a really good one as well. How does personal growth and valuing yourself tie into your relationship with money and success in business? Is mindset really that powerful when it comes to wealth creation?
Yeah. And Mark, I think you also just stated it. What we think and what we say creates our reality. I was just talking to someone earlier today, and they've got a cash flow problem at the moment. Let's say they have assets, but they have a cash flow problem, which seems to be a lot of people at the moment. But I notice how some people deal with it, and how some people will buy into the lies of the world of like, oh no, there's not enough. There's, I'm struggling. I'm this, I'm that, rather than again, be in question of, okay, so now what else is possible, in regards to this? Like, recently I sold one asset so that I could invest in something different. And I think a lot of people, even as they start making money and they invest, they start hoarding what they're choosing rather than keep being in question. One of the questions I would always ask is, will this choice create the future I desire? And that's not just for me, that's also for the planet. I think we've got to take some action there. So I think the mindset that you have, and especially at the moment, Mark, I mean, I travel all over the world. Every single country, has their own trauma and drama story and, own political story, etc. And I'm like, it's occurring all over the world. So what are you going to choose? Are you going to be controlled by all of that? Or are you going to step out of the box and choose something different and start acknowledging what you know and stop trying to be normal and stop trying to be like everybody else? And that takes courage. That takes the fortitude to know that your choices will create something different. And for me, wealth creation is not so much just about, again, money in the bank, etc. Wealth creation is, are you happy? Do you wake up happy? Do you go to bed at night as I said before, with a sense of peace in your world? And if not, what have you got to change? What action can you take?
Great points there. And I like the point about wealth not just being about money, because you can have fortunes and be miserable, and who would want that? You want the money and to be happy. So that's a great point there, Simone. You talk about creating a different financial reality. What does that mean in real terms? Can you share an example from your own journey, perhaps even the story about opening your antique store?
Yeah, I just closed my antique store, one of them. I opened an antique store in Peregian Beach, where I live in Queensland, Australia, but we opened it in July 2020, when Australia was in massive lockdown, our state, no one could come in or out. And there was this great position that became available. And I am currently an owner of 2 antique shops in Brisbane, which is one of our main cities. And this position became available. And I remember sitting outside there going, oh, okay, what do we do here? And I went, okay, let's do it. What's the worst case scenario? And it's like, well, it's a tax deduction, but we're actually just closing it down now. And it's been a great gift and everything that has occurred in the last 5 years. And the only reason we're closing it down is someone bought the building. So, we had to close down. I think it's important to look at, again, like, I guess the running theme of what I'm talking about, Mark, is, are you choosing what makes you happy? Are you choosing what creates the future you desire? And for me, that is a different financial reality. I told you the story about being in debt and using the access consciousness tools to get out of debt and to, create the place where I actually had money. I'm not concerned anymore. Like, I used to walk past restaurants with white tablecloths and beautiful wine glasses and think, gosh, I can't afford to go there. And now it's like I could walk into any restaurant and it's fine. I know I can pay for it. And like I said, it's like, money isn't the thing that gives you happiness. It does make your life ease. It will give you more ease. I will say that. And there's a different choice available. And recently, probably in the past 18 months, I started to look at this and was like, okay, I've ticked all the boxes of this reality. I have commercial investments, residential investments, stock portfolios, like I've got, investments in gold and platinum and silver and so many things like that you could say, wow, she's done well. And again, I sat there, Mark, and I went, is this enough for me? And that's when I started to look at what I had currently invested in and look at where I'd like to put my money to create a different future. So I think if we all look at a different financial reality, is the financial reality coming from what I would call like benevolence, like that greater good for all. What can we choose with our wealth creation, our financial reality that contributes to others? And it's not about saving others at all. I really don't think that. I think everybody has a choice. You get to choose. But what if a different financial reality wasn't just about ticking the boxes of this reality and getting it right? What if a different financial reality was about creating freedom for yourself in a really different way?
I love it. I used to collect a lot of gold and silver bullion. I had to get a storage
Nice.
box for it so that it wasn't stored at home because I had so much of it. But I sold out a couple of years ago to bring in some cash, as you were saying, to use it for other
Yeah.
things. And my dad said to me the other day, Mark, if you'd have held on to that gold, you would be laughing today. It's really shot up. So these things happen. But I also do crypto as well. What are your biggest tips right now for business owners who want to make more money, especially in uncertain times? And are those tips the same for someone just starting out, or do the change,
Yeah.
forgive me, or do they change as you grow?
I think they change as they grow, as you grow. And I love that your gold story, Mark. And, I'm a big believer in you can't play the if game because there's so many of us who have done things and chosen things and gone, oh, if I'd held on to that or if I'd
Oh,
waited.
you win and lose, Simone.
Yes.
And I never focus on the loss. I always still think of the win because it's so easy to go back into your old
Yeah,
programming. If you're focusing
exactly.
on what you've lost rather than the abundance, you'll just go back to your old ways.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I've always looked at, I've failed dismally as according to this reality, not for me. I've lost money, I've failed, I've made money, and I've been hugely successful. And to be honest, the moments where I have failed, and maybe this is one of the biggest tips right now for business owners is don't be scared to fail, as per this reality would say that. I have gained so much awareness from everywhere that I have done something where I've had to close a company down, or I've lost money, or a deal fell through, or something like this. I've gained awareness. And for me, it's like, what are you going to do now? Are you going to complain about it and go, oh, well, I tried and never try again? Or are you going to get back up, dust your knees off and go, okay, I gained so much awareness from that. Now what would I choose? It's like as I get older, I'm in my 50s now, and God, it's so much more relaxing being in my 50s choosing than in my 20s or 30s or 40s was not so bad. But it's knowing that every choice you make, you're going to gain an awareness from that as well, and be willing to change, like be willing to acknowledge the moment that something has to change. Like there's a few times I've had some things occur. I mean, one business I can think of, I got everything stolen from me and I didn't have insurance. So there you go. I learned I didn't have insurance and I had a van filled with stock, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and the whole thing went missing. And at that moment, I went, okay, is this actually what I truly wish to do? And I pivoted and I started choosing a different like sort of road or path with business. And for me, we mentioned that I wrote the book Joy of Business. And for me, business is so malleable. You need to be able to change all the time. You need to be able to acknowledge that when it's time to quit, right? When it's time to change. And like, as I say, winners sometimes quit, but quitters never win. There's a moment, and you are the only one that knows that moment and the energy of when you're quitting, when you're about to be hugely successful. What are you avoiding by not actually, stepping into that realm of success? There's that energy, but there's also knowing, okay, I think I'm done here. I think I've done everything I was meant to do in regards to this or with this business. Now it's time to move on.
I think you've made some great points there, Simone, and I think our audience will take a lot from what you have shared. And I had something interesting to share with you. I can't remember now, maybe it will come back to me. What's next for you? Any new books, projects, business ventures on the horizon that you're excited about?
I'm working on 2 books at the moment, as one does. One, which is closer to getting out, is I haven't quite finished on the title, but the working title is A Different Business for a Different World. And the basis of that is, please start choosing what you're great at. Like, stop trying to choose what everybody else is great at. Choose what you're great at, because that's what changes the world. That's what creates something, bigger and better here. And yeah, so I'm working on that book. And also I'm working on one to do with what I call the 5 elements of intimacy, more to do with relationships, but really starting with that relationship with yourself. And the 5 elements of intimacy is gratitude, trust, allowance, honor, and vulnerability. And for me, I believe you have to have that with yourself before you can have that with anybody else. So I also do classes on relationships and many, many, many different things.
That's so interesting. I do remember what I was going to say. I had to agree with you on the point. I'm 44 in September, and when I was in my 30s, I never wanted to be 40. But looking back at my 30s, I wasn't as comfortable or as happy as I am in my 40s. So I do remember that's what I was going to mention to you. So maybe, even though I was dreading 50, you've just given me something to look forward to, Simone.
Yeah.
Now, how can people connect with you, Simone? And who ideally do you want to reach out to you? Who are you looking to support, and who can you best serve?
Good question, Mark. I'm looking to support anyone who's actually desirous to change. It's very boring to me if people just want to tell their stories, but if you actually really desire to change and choose something different, then Access Consciousness has tools that can contribute to you. You can find me on accessconsciousness.com. You can also Google my name. I have a great name because there is no other Simone Milasas as far as I know. So it's SIMONE MILASAS. That's my website. That's my Instagram, Facebook, all the different handles for all the different social media. So you can find out, then I have classes. I do mentorships as well, like many different things.
Simone Milasas, thank you so much for being a guest on my show today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Mark, thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful. Thank you. Thank you for you.
The pleasure's been all mine.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.